Yo, what's up guys? Inswain with Inswain Audio. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, dog, where have you been? Make sure to join the family. We missed you. Make sure to subscribe and tap in with us. We appreciate you here. Anyways, today I'm going to be telling you how to get upfront vocals. You know, those vocals that are just right in your face, that sound professional, that thing that's holding you back from sounding like your favorite mixes, most likely. Yeah, trust me, I get it. Let's just jump into it. Alright, so first what we got here is we have a rap beat and a rap vocal recording. Just two tracks here. What I'll do is I'll play it and let you hear what we're working with.
I could be a man all night. I could put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrive just in time. Zolin touch the mic.
So the vocal is completely raw. There's no processing on it other than the tuning baked into it. But you can hear in the recording, sometimes it's buried in the mix, sometimes it's poking out, right? It's very dynamic, and that happens. You can even see it in the waveform, like, you know, right here we got where he really projected. You can hear it kind of pokes out.
That real shit, I arrive just.
That's just what happens, especially if you're not recording with analog compression going in. The vocal is a very dynamic instrument, so to speak, so that's going to happen. So that brings me to my first tip, is to get a good recording. If you want an up-close vocal, get up close to the microphone. Now, obviously, if you're too close, it'll cause issues. You know, it'll be spitty, sibilant, a lot of mouth clicks, etc. Or you could clip if you don't know what you're doing with your gain staging. But in a nutshell, if you want an up-close vocal, record up close. There's no amount of processing that can identically replicate a good up-close quality recording. So it starts at the source. Get a good recording. Record up close. The next tip I have here is to compress or compress more. A lot of times when I hear a mix that's not quite the same as an industry mix, the main thing that's missing is compression. Typically on the vocals, but overall, but really in the vocals, almost always you can afford to compress more. If we're working with like a contemporary, like modern genre here, like pop, rap, etc., like you can probably afford to compress more, a lot more. I know there's a lot of tips out there where it's like, don't compress more than 3 dBs. Like, don't listen to it. That's just wrong. You can. Of course, sometimes that's good advice, but it's not a rule. Definitely not a rule. You got to be slamming these songs if you want them to be loud and to sound like what you're hearing on the radio for these genres. So I'll show you what I did here with my compressor. I used the stock Logic compressor, the Studio FET. I wanted it nice, aggressive in your face, obviously. This isn't necessarily important, these exact settings, it's just the concept. But I got a negative 25.5 threshold, my ratio is 5.4 to 1, 16 millisecond attack, 45 millisecond release, and then I just added some gain back to level it out. So what I'll do now is I'll play it to you with the compressor bypassed and with it enabled, back and forth, so we can hear the difference in real time, starting with it disabled.
I could be a man all night. I could put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrive just in time. Zolin.
So you can definitely hear a difference. The vocal was up front, right? But it also gave it a nice saturation texture to it that to me sounded pleasing and also helped it cut through the mix as well. So we kind of got a 2-for-1 deal. And there's some pretty heavy compression going on, especially towards the end of the take here where he's projecting his voice more. We're getting more gain reduction. So I might not necessarily use this compressor in this style. Maybe I would use something first to level it, or, you know, use some clip gain to get a more level signal going into the compressor, right? There's a million ways you can go about it, but the idea here is with compression and the right compression, you can get that vocal to cut through the mix and be upfront. Okay, so the next tip is slap delay. What that is it's a delay or echo, but it's usually short and fast, like a 16th note or something, and it gives the effect of, you know, reverberations from the voice slapping off of surfaces nearby, like a live feel or a room feel, etc. So what I did is I set it up on a bus right here, my bus 1. You can see it's at negative 25.7, so we're not getting too much of the effect. It's subtle. I didn't want it to be like a noticeable effect. I just wanted it to be helping the vocal cut through, more so felt. So I used the stock Logic tape delay. You can use any delay. I have it synced up to a 16th note. I added some spread to 25 just to widen it. You don't have to do this. Feedback is short at 15%. and the wet is on 100% because we're on ascend. And for the EQ, I cut everything below 110 and everything above 2900. You don't have to do this. I just like to tighten up them so that they're not super bright or really, boomy and distracting. But yeah, let's hear that. Back and forth, starting with it disabled.
I could be a man all night. I could put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrived just in time. Zolin touched the mic.
So very subtle. Right there when I paused it, you could hear the mic. You could hear it reflecting a little bit. But when it was playing with the beat, can't really hear it, but you can definitely feel it and sense the difference, but you don't really hear the reflections, and that's what I was going for. Of course, you can add more and more of this if you want it to be like an effect, to get like an old school like Beastie Boys or rock style vocal. Sometimes that's really cool, but we just wanted it to cut through the mix here in this case. All right, the next trick is pretty straightforward, but it really just works, and that is to increase your mid-range, the frequencies in the vocal with an EQ. The mid-range is what our ears really, really are sensitive to. Through human evolution, that's where the human voice primarily exists, is in the mid-range. So our ears have evolved through all these years of evolution to be very sensitive to the mid-range, to be able to communicate and speak with other humans. So we're very good at hearing mid-range. So if you increase the mid-range, you're going to hear it as louder. We're going to perceive it as louder. So what I did here is I got the stock Logic console EQ. I have it set to punchy for the output. And all I did was on the mid gain, I gave it 3.5 dBs a boost, and the frequency is 2.933, so around 3K. Just for this vocal, that's what felt right for this tutorial. You don't have to do that frequency. It's always going to change, but the idea stays the same. And then because we're only boosting here, we didn't cut anywhere, it's obviously going to be louder, which isn't fair. So I pulled the overall output gain down by 0.8 decibels to level match. So it should be about level match, but we'll hear just the difference in EQ. So I'll play it enabled and disabled, starting with it disabled. Watch this light. When it's turned on, the plugin is on.
I could be a man all night. I can put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrived just in time. Zolin touched.
Definitely felt great there. Push the vocal forward, right? Mid-range is forwardness. It's just straightforward like that. The next trick is one that kind of works for anything. You want your vocal darker, brighter, even though they're contradictory, forward, backward, anything you want, you can get that from saturation. So that's right, the next one is saturation. I use the stock Logic Chroma Glow. I just used this in my last tutorial. This is now my second time using it, and I'm getting good results every time. I haven't done it in the context of like an actual mix yet, but I can see this thing is pretty powerful. I might start using this. Anyways, the model is Squeeze. Here we got different models. I use Squeeze. For the style, I chose hard press. I think it defaults to soft press. I like the hard press in this case, but it's always going to change, right? I got the Squeeze at 20%, but then I pulled the mix down to 89% to blend back in some of that original signal to really fine tune how much saturation I wanted. And then because it increased the volume, I brought the overall gain down by 2.5 decibels to level match. So let's compare, starting with it disabled.
I could be a man all night. I can put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrived just in time. Zolin touched the mic.
So that one was very noticeable. In my opinion, this has been the most drastic one so far. And that's why I love saturation so much. You can do anything with it. This really just compressed the vocal as well and just pushed it forward. So it's one of those two birds with one stone type of trick. You're getting character, you're getting forwardness, you're getting compression, sweet character. You can't beat it. All right, the next trick is compression, but not just standard compression. We're doing parallel compression. Now, I might make a whole video on what parallel compression is, but to sum it up, it's kind of what it sounds like, parallel, right? Side by side. What it means is that we have the original signal and a processed signal side by side. In this case, the processed signal is compressed. So we have the original signal and a compressed signal, and we're blending them in together instead of just compressing the whole signal and having that one, train of processing. This has many advantages and ways to conceptualize it. I won't get into it in this video, but just know that that's what it is. So I set it up on a bus here on bus 2. I have it at 0, but I turned it down within the plugin. We got our compressor. So this is going to be running in parallel or side by side or along with our original signal. So the idea here is that in your parallel one, right, your duplicate, you want to do some heavy compression, and then you can blend that in underneath and slowly with the original vocal, so you have that original vocal to allow it to breathe, but we also get a compressed version, like a kind of like a ball of sound to blend in with it, kind of like to get the best of both worlds. Now in a real mix, I like to do a combination of regular compression, like on the track itself, and parallel compression, so I can really dial in the tones and textures and compression and envelope shape that I want. Anyways, once again, I use the Studio FET stock Logic compressor. The threshold, I brought it down so that we could really get that lower part of the signal, negative 33.5. Once again, these exact settings aren't necessarily important. It's going to always change, but yeah, I used a pretty high ratio of 11:1. My attack is 11.5 milliseconds, and my release is 43 milliseconds. And the makeup gain I have all the way down at negative 20, and then also on the output gain, I put it at negative 6.5. Don't shoot me in the comments. I know the difference, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I use both. It's fine. But really what I was doing was just turning it way down so that the vocal wasn't getting much louder when I turn it on, so that I could level match it. Enough rambling. Let's hear what it does. So I'll play it to you bypassed and enabled, starting with it bypassed.
I could be a man all night. I could put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrived just in time.
So there you have it. That one's a little bit more subtle, but it really gave a nice tone to the vocal. I could hear personally in the upper mids some brightness and some bite coming in, which is helping it cut through. On top of the, the compression and the reduction of the dynamic range, putting it forward, it also kind of gave it a nice EQ curve as well, which is why I chose the compressor that I did, to kind of get a two birds with one stone. I think I'm noticing now that that's a big thing here, is choosing the right tools is going to help you get where you want to be faster, as opposed to setting you back, and then you just end up chasing your tail. All right, and the last tip is probably the biggest one, but it's the most simple and most boring, and it's going to be disappointing, but trust me when I tell you, this is a big one. Turn your vocal up. If you want something more forward, turn it up. Crazy, right? Watch this. I didn't want to adjust the fader, so I put it on a plugin. I just got the stock Logic Gain plugin. You could have just used the fader if you really wanted, although be careful with gain staging. But anyways, watch this. I just gave it a dB.5 boost. We're going to start with it turned off, and then when I turn it on, watch how much more forward the vocal gets.
I could be a man all night. I could put your dreams to the light. I can make this shit take flight. I can run your scheme for a price. I'ma mix the lean with the Sprite. Just tonight, where's that real shit? I arrived just in.
Crazy, right? If you turn it up, it's more forward. It's more any word you want to use, and that's because we can hear it more. Now, obviously, this has a diminishing return, so to speak, where if you turn it up too much, everything else is now too far away, and the balance is off sometimes, right? So you have to use your taste here, but don't be afraid to just turn things up. There's a reason that that's one of the first things we learn is the volume knob, is because that's going to get you there. Back in the day, people didn't have all these crazy plugins and processing. They had panning and volume, right? And they made it work, so don't overlook a little bit of gain. Anyways, guys, I feel like this was a good one. A lot of gems in here. I hope you liked it and took something from it. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, name your firstborn child after me. The algorithm absolutely loves that, and so do I. I would appreciate it. Anyways, guys, Inswain with Inswain Audio. Peace!